Sounds like football, baby.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Football Smackdown. I'm your host, Kyle August. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at KyleMonth8. You're checking out Waiver Wire Sniping for Week 9 here on the Fantasy Football Smackdown on the Dynasty Warzone Network YouTube channel. Appreciate you checking out today's show. Of course, this is Saturday. Week 8 is coming up, but we're getting you set for the Week 9 Waiver Wire ads. These are the guys that you should stash right now. Once you've got those lineups set for Week 8, you have those extra roster spots. Add these guys now off the wire for free. No wasted fab, no wasted waiver priority. Just grab these guys for free as free agents, stash them on the end of your bench, and then you should be looking good come Tuesday when everybody else is scrambling. So let's just dive right into it. Some decent ads this upcoming week, I think. But teams on bye in Week 9, just as a heads up, we have the Lions, the Seahawks, the Bucks, and Washington on bye in Week 9. So we're back up to 4 teams on bye. So there's going to be more teams looking for streaming quarterbacks potentially and fill-in players. So this is, again, a great strategy to get ahead of your league mates. Quarterback streamers for Week 9. He's at the top of the list once again. This dude is just planted here, I guess, because nobody wants to roster Jameis Winston. My threshold for this is 50%. So any quarterbacks or players under 50% owned are going to be mentioned here today in my ranking. So at quarterback, the top streamers for me, number 1 is Jameis. He's going up against the Atlanta Falcons next week. He's 43% owned. I've talked about him all week. Talked about him on the Waiver Wire show. Talked about him on the Start Sit show. This is a 2-week guy. If you're not satisfied with your quarterback for Week 8, this is a guy that you can add now and play him against Tampa Bay tomorrow, play him against Atlanta next week, and feel pretty good about that. So 43% on Jameis Winston. Then there's a drop-off for sure. For me, I'm rostering Trey Lance. The rest of the streamers that are on this list, I'm not extremely excited about. A lot of T's coming up here. We got Trey, Tua, Teddy, and Tyrod as stash candidates for streamers. But I'm going to go with Trey Lance. He's not on the injury report. He's not going to start in Week 8, but I'm sure Jimmy G has a short leash. This team is in trouble. If they don't start getting some W's, they are going to be not in not good shape. So as far as the playoff picture goes, I'm stashing Trey Lance. He's 21% owned, gets the Cardinals next week. As far as the remaining guys that I'm fairly certain are going to start in Week 9 as streamers, Tua against Houston, he's 38% owned. Again, just a great matchup against a bad defense. Teddy Bridgewater gets Dallas in Dallas, 27% owned. He's going to have to keep up with that Dallas Cowboys offense. Even if Dak doesn't play this week, I expect him to be back in Week 9. And then Tyrod Taylor, he's not going to go this week for Houston, but he was practicing this week and hopefully should be ready for Week 9 against the Miami Dolphins. So those are your streaming quarterbacks for next week if you want to stash. At running backs, all of a sudden there's some interesting names here just because of some of the moves that were made on Friday or Thursday as far as some of the trades that happened, the trade that happened in the NFL regarding Mark Ingram headed to the Saints. But the top stash, I don't know why this man is only 41% owned. He was the running back to own in Baltimore, and that's Latavius Murray. He missed Week 7 against the Bengals due to an ankle injury, and then Baltimore went into a bye in Week 8 this week. So they're off this week. That gives Latavius 2 weeks off. He wasn't an early rule out for Week 7. So I'm going to read the tea leaves a bit here and expect him to be back at it in Week 9, even if he's limited on Wednesday. As long as he's getting in a full practice by Friday, you're going to feel good about Murray. No one else did anything to supplant him in that role. Yes, he's a low-end RB2 or a flex. I get that. But at 41% owned, it's crazy. He should be much more rostered. I'm going to get Latavius Murray right now if you can. Run, don't walk. The rest of these guys are just flyers. But due to the shakeup in Houston, David Johnson, for me, not that I love him over Philip Lindsay, but I would prioritize him. He's 47% owned. Mark Ingram heading to the Saints. Alvin Kamara was on pace for over 300 carries. The dude was just getting a monster amount of work. I think Ingram steps back into that Mark Ingram, Latavius Murray type role. I think he'll probably be good for 10 to 12 carries a game, pretty much right out of the bat. So I'm going to try to roster him, stash him now, see how it's working out. 37% owned. Boston Scott, we know Miles Sanders is on IR for 3 weeks at least. He's only 16% owned, which doesn't really make a ton of sense. They get Detroit this week. I think it'd be a fine flex fill-in play for you if you needed somebody. And the Eagles bye is not till late. So this 3 weeks of Miles Sanders being out, Boston Scott should get some looks. I know Kenneth Gainwell, I like him, but I think Scott being 16% owned is way too low. Go at him now. Philip Lindsay, 16% owned. Same reason I talked about David Johnson. We'll just see how it pans out. Once Tyra gets back, that offense is going to get better. So I'm okay just taking a stash, see what happens with that backfield. Deep stashes, Michael Hasty for the Niners and Ahmed for the Dolphins with Malcolm Brown on IR. We'll just see how that backfield shapes up. Wide receivers, another Raven, Bateman, baby, 31% owned. He led the team in targets his first week, 80 yards in week 7. He's off this week. People apparently were not keeping an eye on this guy. He's not on their radar. He's my top ad for sure. Go get Bateman, 31% owned. That's crazy low. I think this rookie is going to be in for a big second half of the season. He needs to be on your roster. Number 2 on this list, not as sexy, but it's Hunter Renfrow. He's put up some decent numbers this year. His target numbers are obviously high. We know who he is. But his schedule, the Raiders' schedule coming up is going to be solid. He's going up against some really weak defenses and also some defenses that are paired with offenses that are going to be putting up points. So I think the Raiders are a bye team right now. They have some tougher matchups once you get to the fantasy playoffs. But here is your week 9 through week 14 schedule for the Raiders. They got at the Giants coming off the bye, Kansas City at home, Cincy at home, at Dallas, Washington at home, at Kansas City. Come on, let's go. I would be buying my Raiders right now, especially with them on bye. Float a few offers out there or go pick up Hunter Renfrow for free, 43% owned. Michael Gallup, 44% owned, should be coming back off the injury shortly for the Dallas Cowboys. Will Fuller, 29% owned, and Devontae Parker, 34% owned, wrap up the top 5 stashes. Rumors came out Saturday that Parker could be on the trade block. Fuller's been on IR. He should be available for the Dolphins here in a week or 2, maybe at most. So I'm going to stash these guys just to see how it works out. If Parker's out of town and Fuller comes back, could walk into some decent target share. And Parker, it's just a scratch off, see if he gets traded somewhere. Deep league wide receiver stashes. Traquan Smith returned from injury last week, first week. Again, a couple good matchups. See how it pans out for him. Michael Thomas not practicing yet. And Nico Collins, 11 targets in his return to the Houston Texans. Hasn't produced a lot of volume yet as far as yardage goes or fantasy points, but that's with Davis Mills. Tyrod should be back. Hopefully that will give a little bit more to Nico Collins. And if you're on Twitter, you know Brandon Cooks ain't happy. So we'll see if they move him next week for the deadline as well. Tight end streamers. Now, I don't love this. I know Uzama is somebody that has been hot name, 5 touchdowns in his last 4 games or whatever, but the targets just aren't there. He's 47% owned. I'd actually prefer just stashing Evan Ingram and see about his matchup against the Raiders. He's 31% owned, but I don't love any of these guys. I don't think there's a slam dunk this next week. Hopefully, you've added one of the guys already that has kind of broken out this year. But if you're streaming it, it's Evan Ingram against the Raiders, 31% owned. Uzama at number 2 against the Browns, 47% owned. And Tyler Conklin against Baltimore. Baltimore, they just gave up that monster game to Uzama. They've been pretty bad against tight ends on the year. So Conklin, 23% owned. He's kind of been hit or miss. He's a low-end streamer, but I would take a shot on him over somebody like Dan Arnold as an example next week. So I'm going to go with Tyler Conklin. Injury stash, just want to throw this out there. He dropped another percentage point or 2 this last week. If Logan Thomas is still on the wire in your league, you need to go at him. Now, like I mentioned at the top, Washington is on bye in week 9. So you can probably still let it lie. He might even show up on a few more waiver wires after this week. But he should be back this season. It wasn't like a season-ending injury or anything. He's had plenty of time, and I think he's going to step right back to that production. So he's available at half of leagues. Just double check. If you're struggling at tight end, this could be your solution. DST streamers, don't love this either. If I'm looking to stash anybody this week, I'm either stashing Jameis Winston, one of the running backs, or one of those top-end wide receivers in Bateman or Renfrow. Those are my priorities for sure. DSTs, I mentioned last week, Cincinnati was going to be a big-time stash for me that week and everything. That was great. But now we got not great options. Chargers at Philly, 29% owned. They'd be at the top of my list. Bears at Pittsburgh with Khalil Mack kind of up in the air as far as his status, 27% owned and not loving them. Miami Dolphins just going up against Houston. If it's Mills, maybe they get a bump up to number 2, but overall not a situation I'm overly excited about. So Chargers, Bears, Dolphins, but you could probably just steer clear. Just add somebody for free off waivers. You ain't going to win this more than likely. So, all right, that about does it. Appreciate you checking out today's show, Waiver Wire Sniping. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, wherever you're listening to podcasts. But if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you got those notifications turned on. Like the channel, tune in. We got a Sunday morning show with Memphis. We got content throughout the entire week. It's been a great season so far. Looking forward to the second half. I'll be back with the Fantasy Football Smackdown on Tuesday morning on the podcast, getting you set for those waiver wire ads. some of these names might just be appearing on that show as well. And again, Fantasy Football Smackdown every Thursday as well, right here on YouTube. 7 p.m. Eastern time, live on YouTube, taking your questions with those start sits for the week. Until then, guys, take it easy. Good luck in week 8. Go grab these guys for week 9. I'll catch you next week. See ya.